If everyone would stand, Councilman Cook is going to do the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we humbly thank you for the many wonderful blessings that you've given to us in this beautiful day. We thank you for this beautiful weather. Father, we ask you to be with this board and these citizens that are here tonight. Lead and guide and direct everything that's done before this board. It'd be an award to you. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone. Commissioner Jimmy Garris called me, and the county commissioners are having that meeting as we speak, so he said he couldn't make it tonight. Item number 5 is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Mayor, if you would indulge me just one moment, we have a couple of changes. We have or need to remove consent item number 3 in its total format. We'll bring those back next month.
Item number 3.
3 under consent, please remove in total. And also item number 2 under consent, we'd like to move under presentations.
Item number 2.
2, consent, under consent. If we could move that to presentations, I believe that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, with that change, do I hear a motion we approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Excuse me. Item 6 is recognition. I don't think we have any.
No, sir.
Item 7 is introduction of new employees, police department. Come on up so we can get a good look at you.
Good evening, council, staff, citizens. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce the newest member of the police department, Officer Edwin Santiago. He comes to us from the New Bern Police Department. Prior to that, the Winston-Salem Police Department. He has over 6 years of experience coming in, and we're happy to have him. He's kind of filling the spot of Sergeant Holland, who has recently went to the sheriff's office. So I've mentioned to the sheriff that he needs to slow down taking our folks and moving them over there. But we're happy to have Mr. Santiago, and we're just waiting on his paperwork to come back from Raleigh and put him to work.
Welcome aboard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Do presentations?
Yes, we just moved Chief's presentation from consent to presentation.
Yeah.
So Chief Will Height's next.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I know it's right here somewhere.
Good evening again. This is basically a dissemination of information for the council and the citizens, and we're going to get this pushed out in the upcoming electric bill in the newsletter. We've got a new piece of technology we're introducing to all citizens. They don't have to be Winterville citizens, but it's a mobile app for your smartphone, whether it be an iPhone or an Android. Where's Evan? The key just popped off of this. It's basically a mass communication tool that can be used for various items to include emergency situations. It could just be notifications of events that are coming up, our community day or coffee with a cop or anything that we want to get out to the citizens. It also allows citizens to anonymously report crime through the app. They don't have to call the police department. They could send an email, and the email comes into the police department, and the officers can react accordingly. And then, if we've got a street closing, I'm sure we've all heard about the unfortunate incident that happened last night, and that street was closed for a while. Something like that could be disseminated to all the citizens who have the app, so they could detour around that if need be. This is what the app looks like when you go into your app store or your Play Store, whichever mobile device that you have. It's that top shield, the blue in color. It's free, so they don't have to purchase anything. Once you have it downloaded, you just go in and you select the Winterville Police Department as your agency, and you'll automatically start getting notifications on your phone. I've seen the Sheriff's Office also has this. I'm not sure to what extent they use it, but I did see their name in the list that you could choose from. This is just some examples of some things we've recently posted on it, reminding citizens of the Coffee with a Cop, the second Tuesday of every month. You can upload a picture, and this is the chief from PCC and some of our officers enjoying their coffee.
What time is that, Chief?
It's at 8:30 to 10. This is a recent post that Miss Becky, there was a injured dog located at Old Tar in Maine, and she was able to put that out in real time for any citizen that may have lost their injured dog, or if the dog was injured without their knowledge, they could find that information out without calling the shelter or calling the police department or anything like that. We also posted our pharmaceutical drop box information on this, where citizens could, it's become very popular, by the way. We've had many drops happen over the last 2 weeks. And our latest, we had an event at D.H. Conley for safe driving for students, and we posted that information up as well. So it's not just all crime related, it's also community related as well. So we would encourage everyone to download it and see how it works, and should be a good piece of technology as we embrace technology as a town, as a whole.
Chief, let me ask you, how are we making the citizens aware that this is available?
We're going to post in the newsletter, as well as put in an information flyer in the electric bill as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions about mobile patrol?
Sounds like it's a real good idea.
Where did you say you could get those?
On your app store or your Play Store on your phone, you just type in the word mobile patrol. It'll pull it right up in the search block.
Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, I think according to the agenda, we have three, for the public comment portion. And as I remind everyone that the board voted several years ago that when we have people here to make the public comments, that they would wish for me to read the policy on that. The public comment period of 30 minutes provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included in the agenda or to address the town council on any other matter related to the town of Winterville.
Mayor.
Do what?
Yeah, the public hearing.
Oh, sure do. I'm glad she's here. She keeps me
Now I have to
straight.
give
I
coworker
just
the
skipped
wrong
over the public hearing. I'm sorry. Public hearing is for, this one is one we've been waiting on. The proposed portable temporary storage unit regulations.
As the mayor stated, the council will be holding a public hearing tonight to consider an adoption of an amendment to our zoning ordinance. And what the amendment would do is establish some minimum standards and regulations for the use of portable temporary storage units. A notice of this hearing was published in the Daily Reflector on October 10th. As council is aware of, staff has been working with our Planning and Zoning Board for a number of months now to try and develop some minimum standards and guidelines for the use of temporary storage units. Planning and Zoning Board held a public input workshop on Tuesday, September the 2nd at 6 p.m. Notice of that workshop was published in the Daily Reflector. Copies of that notice were also mailed directly, and a cover letter, mailed directly to local businesses that rent the portable temporary storage units, and to closely associated businesses such as Restore One, Caremaster, who may be providing services to someone who's had a fire or some kind of damage at their home and may need to make use of temporary storage units. The Planning and Zoning Board has thoroughly, examined this issue, I believe, put a whole lot of effort into trying to carefully put forth a set of regulations that provide an appropriate level of regulation, but trying not to be overly burdensome or make it difficult for people who need to use the storage units to be able to do that. It's been a very long and somewhat difficult process because drafting written regulations is always something that has to be gone about with great care. It's an exercise in balancing the public health and safety with individual rights. And so it's always something that takes a great deal of effort to balance those two needs. Not going to go into great detail on the regulations, but I thought I would just touch upon the kind of thing that they're designed to do. First, regulations define what a portable temporary storage unit is for the purpose of these regulations. Establish some size limitations, some placement criteria that define where on the property the storage units may be placed. Some duration limits that specify how long, and it varies depending on the circumstance, because our ordinance does take into account that if it's recovery from some kind of disaster, it could require a longer period of time than if it's just simply someone who's getting the furniture out to clean the carpet throughout the house, things of that nature. So the regulations are designed to be somewhat flexible dependent on the specific circumstance that has necessitated using the storage units. It also establishes some prohibitions, such as prohibits using a temporary storage unit for human or animal habitation, prohibits utilizing them for commercial purposes when they're placed on residential property, and prohibits them from creating any kind of public safety hazard, such as blocking the view, sight distances at intersections and driveways and that kind of thing. Excuse me. So at the meeting that followed the workshop, which was September 15th, after a lot of discussion and lengthy debate, the Planning and Zoning Board has recommended adoption of the draft of the regulations that was included in your agenda package. There is a requirement for a building permit if the storage unit is going to be on the property for 14 days or greater. The Planning Board has also recommended that no fee be charged for that building permit in the same manner that no fee is charged for a zoning compliance certificate issued for construction of a fence. Fences do not require any type of building permit, but we do require a zoning compliance certificate. With that, I'll ask if council has any questions for staff.
Anyone have any questions? I read through the thing. It seems like the planning board, you or whoever, did a lot of intensive work on doing this, and seemed to be pretty good to me. Maybe we won't run into something like we had on Boyd Street again.
Well, I hope everyone has seen that they've moved that up into
Yes.
the property.
So as this is in the form of a change to our zoning ordinance, an amendment to our zoning ordinance. State statute does require a public hearing.
If no question, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of this? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close the public hearing. What's the board's pleasure?
I make a motion that we adopt the amendment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for adoption. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to Alan and the planning board for the hard work that they have been putting forth on this effort.
I think I'm right this time.
Well, yes, you
We got
are.
comments, public comments. Okay. The public comment period of 30 minutes provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included in the agenda or to address the town council on any other matter related to the town of Winterville. For an item included in the public hearing section of the agenda, residents should address the council at the time the mayor invites public comment on the item. No public comment may be made to the council during the meeting except during the public comment period or as part of a public hearing. Individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and no more than 3 speakers may address the council on a single matter. The town council may elect to take no action on the matter addressed by a speaker, may schedule the matter for further consideration at a future council meeting, or may refer the matter to town staff for disposition. Copies of the public comment policy are available in the rear of the assembly room. The first one is we have signed up is Ms. Valerie Tyson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I stand before you tonight to, first of all, say thank you for allowing the community impact to again come into the Winterville's Park and Recreation for the Unity Day. And I also would like to inform you that it was very successful. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. Everyone that attended, I even read in the news lead letter, Times leader, that we had a lot of people come in from Kingston, North Carolina, and you know that Kingston is having some trouble, so they're trying to piggyback off of what we're doing here because they think it's such a great idea. And on that day, we served 750 people. And that was good. It was very good. And I also stand before you to present our committee. So at this time, I will call their names. And as I call their names, they will stand. Well, founder of Community Day is Valerie Tyson. The president is April Ward. She's not here tonight due to work schedule. Vice president is Robin Jones. Secretary is Dorica Crandall. Media coordinator is Branson Edwards. And Sergeant at Arms, who's also not present, is Lamont Ward. This is the committee that meets and we come together with different things to bring next year. If it is agreed upon, we will be back, and we will be back with something different. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I'd just like to add that I spent a right good while out there that Saturday, and what really impressed me, I was talking, the chief and I was standing there talking, and a young lady, probably, chief might help me, maybe 10 years old, something like that, walked up. She says, "It is really good to be out here, and you don't have to worry about guns firing and a lot of fighting and yelling going on." She said, "This is really nice."
Oh, good. And that's what we are working towards, bringing unity and letting others know that we're all the same. We just want to have a good time one day and just relax, have fun.
I was out there that Saturday too. Stayed a while, sweated a while.
Yeah, you did.
And I totally enjoyed it. It seemed like everybody was just having a good time. It was a nice flow of traffic through, and free food. And of course, that's something special, for something like that to be out there in the afternoon like that. The children seem to be enjoying it. I do know the work that goes in it. I have not been with you all for 2 years now, but I was there the first year, and I know that you meet every week. And everything. And I think it is a good thing. And I do thank the police department for working with this group to put it on each year. I think it showcases not only our community and what the purpose is, which is to bring the community together, but it also shows what we can do in Winterville when we pull together.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll say, we know to get more Sprite next year. We ran out of
Okay.
I would like to say also that I had an opportunity to attend, and also I attended one of your meetings also. And
Yes.
I was very impressed how you handled your meeting and the participation and the environment, and I think everybody they were dedicated to what was going on. So I would say job well done. It was a beautiful day. It's like what Ms. Robinson said when I first got out of my automobile. I saw he was probably about 10 years old. He was walking away. He was going back to his car with his parents. And I stopped him. I said, "Do you enjoy yourself?" He said, "Yes, I had a wonderful time." I said, "Is there anything that you see that you would like to see different than what you have already seen?" He said, "I can't see anything." He said, "Because everything was free." I said, "That's great. I'm glad to hear that." And so that was very impressive to me. And everybody else I talked to, everything was positive. Thank
You had
you.
a crew cooking hamburgers and hot dogs.
Yes.
I'll tell you that.
Yes.
And they was good.
They are on point.
Yes.
They loved it.
And
I
Chief,
hope-
thank you for a
Yes,
job well done.
absolutely. Absolutely. We couldn't have done it without you. And your
They
team.
were short of staff.
But they did
They
great.
did an excellent job.
They did. They really did.
And I appreciate that both of you all have such deep roots in our community. I know your families, the Edwards family, been here for a long time. And I know the Cox family, been here for a long time. And of course, the Ward family,
Yes.
which is my family.
And
That's
I-
true.
Yes.
And I'm aware of the reason why you had a short staff, because I think we had some sort of run. It was another event going on here close by.
That event was the next day, I
That was the
believe.
next day
That
with
was the next
Evan.
day? Okay.
So we had many staff members involved, and so I'd like to thank Ms. Tyson, members of Impact, but town staff for all of their involvement prior to, during, and after. So
Yes.
good
yes.
collaboration.
Yes. So I look forward to coming back next year. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all coming out.
Yes.
Let's see, the second one I have is Charlie Lewis.
I don't think I see Mr. Lewis in the audience. He had some concerns about our town regulations regarding fencing. We'll touch base with him and see if he'd like to come visit you in November.
Okay. All righty. And Mr. Marcus McCallahan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus McClanahan. I live at Bayberry Lane on Craftwind subdivision. Been there for about 15 years. In fact, I think I'm one of the first ones out there. This is my next door neighbor, Joseph Furman. He's up here to offer some explanations and so forth. First, I'd like to talk about a house that's located next to us. And I think, Councilman Moore, you were sent a petition. You have pictures and so forth of this house. This house has probably been abandoned for, about 3 years? Something like that, and is slowly but surely deteriorating. It's become a rat-infested, rodent-infested habitat for snakes and the like. and it's really killing the real estate values in that whole neighborhood there. If I could approach the board, I got a couple of pictures here.
I've been there, all in the backyard and everywhere. It's okay to show the pictures, it'll be fine.
If you'd like to pass the pictures out, that'd be great.
But it is,
I do believe we,
The front looks a lot better.
Right.
Here's the sign right there. You seen the pictures, Mayor?
I do believe we have pictures on file, but I'll pass these
like I said, I
around.
went in the yard, I went in the backyard. There's all kinds of stuff in the backyard.
Yeah, it's fixed. The house is coming apart, no question about it. We understand that most of the work has been done as far as to do something with this house, but it's really harming the neighborhood. It would be hard for me to try to sell my house in that neighborhood with this one. Most of the yards they're small houses, 1,400 square foot houses. But people do keep up their yard, they keep up their property, and the neighborhood, other than that there's a particular house that looks good. So we would certainly appreciate if something could be done about that. We talked to Director of Public Works, I think it was, and he said he had done a lot of work on this house, that you folks were aware that what was going on. But I know that you do keep the yards mowed, but the house itself is really becoming, if the house were to catch on fire, the whole subdivision would probably go, because the setback lines, the side yard lines they're pretty close together. And it's really a health hazard, it's a fire hazard, and something really needs to be done about it. We would certainly appreciate if you could do something.
I do know that it is on not only Public Works list for the lawn mowing, but also our building inspector, code enforcement officer has been working on that situation as well.
Been done as far as to do something about this house?
I think, I can't see Mr. Weldon because he's behind you, but I believe the house is in the process. Okay, thank you. And so we are moving
So we could look forward to something happening before too long, right?
in the near future.
In the near future.
Yes, sir. And I'll be glad to try to keep you informed as that moves forward.
Thank you very much for the information you put together for your neighborhood.
Right.
It's the first time I've seen that kind of effort
Yep.
by any neighborhood since I've been on this board back in 1997.
Uh-huh.
And thank you very much. But the process is normally very slow in getting things done, but we try to get the grass cut. And I've been there several times. And it floods, of course. The big issue, the flooding. Has it flooded lately? Has it flooded lately?
Has it what?
Flooded any?
Well, it hasn't flooded lately. Yeah. The last big rain we had, that's another thing I want to get into in just shortly. Yeah, we've got a problem there as far as water is concerned. But I appreciate you bringing this to their attention, this type thing too. But like I say, the house has been deteriorated. I think the house has probably been abandoned for like 3 years. And it's really a problem. It's really a mess. It certainly is. But we'd appreciate anything you folks will do for them. Okay. Now, we've got as Councilman Moore said, we've got a water problem out there. Particularly his house and me, I'm next door to him. The water problem develops from the fact that we're right at the very end of Rosewood. All that water coming off of the Conley Street up there, Conley Road up there, coming down to Rosewood. The Bayberry Lane where we live is graded from Old Tar Road down to us, and from the other end of Bayberry Lane down to us. We've got a big ditch in the back. I got some pictures of the ditch that I took in this last lane. Now, it doesn't have to be a deluge for this to happen.
Right.
Just a real heavy rain will do it. This is in my backyard. And if you pass this around, please.
Sure.
This is the ditch. I took the ditch, the last rain we had. It's almost up to the back door.
We are aware of the water issue, and Mr. Wellborn, our Public Works Director, I know he and staff are trying to figure out ways to try to address it. That won't be as in the near future as maybe the house will be, but we are working on it.
Well, like I say, I've never had flood insurance before, but now they're building a subdivision behind us. They built subdivisions up from us. All this takes water away from the ground. Therefore, the water has got to go somewhere. So the water is coming into this ditch. We've got more water. The ditch is already overloaded. So now we've got more water coming in. Now, the flooding from Rosewood coming in, that runs down through our yard. It makes a beeline to that ditch. All this water is going into this ditch. Now, when they build houses out there and put asphalt, that water cannot run down through the asphalt. It has to come to the ditch or somewhere else. I understand that Mr. Kuhn, I think Kuhn is doing a lot of development over there. But I understand he put a holding pond. But I don't think, well, you can't do anything about it, but I don't think that holding pond is going to take care of this thing. Now, my question is, I did buy flood insurance for this. If I'm flooded out and the insurance pays me off, they're going to do that one time because the problem is not solved. The next time you have a big rain, I'm going to be flooded again. So, it puts us in a precarious position there, particularly him and me and one or two more houses. What you can do about the drainage situation, I have no idea. This is a real problem. I did not know that such a situation existed, but we're kind of in the bottom of the grade in that particular instance. So this is what we've got. Now, if I might show you some pictures of this fellow's house, and I don't know
The issue here is that it doesn't take all night. It could rain like for an hour, and that's what happens. Like all the dirt, all the debris comes through our carport, and
this fellow's on a slab. He's got a problem. I do have crawl space, which I can swim under my house, but he can't.
Well, certainly.
But it's a problem, so.
We are working on that, and I can't see Mr. Wellborn either, but Travis, I don't know if you have anything to.
Well, what can be done, this is the thing,
It's going to be a bigger project because we have some similar areas in town.
But the water comes through when you get a heavy rain, for maybe a couple, 3 hours.
Right.
The water comes through the side yard. You could float a boat in it. You really could. It's a problem with us. It's going to affect the underpinning of the house. It's going to affect my foundation, and I'm going to have a real problem.
Mr. McClanahan, anytime it rains, look at Main Street, will always flood. Look at Church Street, always floods. Railroad Street, always floods.
Main Street.
We got all over town we have flooding. All over town we have flooding. We've always had flooding. We're in a bowl.
In my backyard.
Outside
Always
is higher
flooded.
than the inside. And it's always happened right here by Town Hall. It floods each time.
Well, I don't know what their situation is, and looking at mine, I understand they're flooded. Or are they flooded like us? We've got a big ditch, and do they have a big ditch that they're having to contend with too? It may be the same ditch. I don't know, man.
Well, the
Looks like it runs all around
state
town.
has stopped cleaning ditches out.
Do
The
what?
state has stopped cleaning ditches out all over the state of North Carolina.
Right.
All on the roads is flooded. 4 lines roads floods. The state has stopped cleaning ditches, and it's sad. The flooding we had years ago on the south side of Winterville flooded big time. Homes.
So
We got homes that are the east side of Winterville that were given to us. The land was given to us when homes were tore down because of flooding.
What to do about it?
They were all given flood insurance when they built those houses. And if you
So what happens if you get flooded out and the insurance stops?
Well, no, the federal government bought the homes up, and then they donated to town of Winterville. We have lots of it donated to us.
And part of the problem has become because I grew up here, what we used to call a ditch is no longer a ditch. It's a blue line stream.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
a blue line stream, you are forbidden by law to touch it.
Uh-huh.
That's one of the biggest issues we have is, unless we've maintained that ditch in the past before the buffer rules and blue line stream rules became active, we're not allowed to just go in there and clean out the ditch.
Understand.
We did actually clean out the ditch behind your house within the past month or two, and I hope that helped. We cleaned it out from the pipe all the way to Old Tall Road.
Yeah.
That's generally where the town's maintenance responsibility ends and the drainage district's responsibility begins.
Right.
We were able to definitely improve the flow over there because that pipe was holding a lot of water.
And that's a large, deep ditch, too.
It's very
You could put a
large.
Mack truck in there. You could cover a Mack truck up in that ditch. You really could. That's fine when there's no rain and it's real dry. You know, you get a little trickle of water down there. But you let it for 3 or 4 hour real heavy rain, and you see what's happening back there. So,
As Terry mentioned, you know, this is more of a large-scale issue. This is unfortunately just putting my eyes on it. It's not something we can just go add a pipe or a catch basin to fix it. I think one of the biggest problems is the ditch backing water over to the pipes. And the pipes are full, so the water can't go in the pipes and it flows down the road into your yard.
right.
And it's the grading thing, the pitch of the grading.
And
That's
once those pipes are full,
everything.
that water stays above ground in the street and flows into your yard.
Well, you see too now, like I say, you've got, what is that, Rosewood? That's really pouring water down there. Rosewood is really pouring water. We could stop some of that side up there toward Conley School Road and help us down there too. But you know, so whatever the solution. Right.
Well, I did want you to know that staff has worked on it and wanted Mr. Wellborn to tell you specifically what they've done thus far, and we'll continue to see if there are better ways to improve the situation. Unfortunately, and people don't want to hear this, but we're having significant short-term rain events unlike we've seen really probably ever before. So we're getting amounts of rain, obviously, in a short amount of time, and there are probably no improvements that can be made that can really benefit that situation, because at some point when all of the pipes get backed up, there's nowhere for it to go. So we're trying to look at that as well.
If this just happened when we had a real heavy rain and it lasted, that would be no problem. But this is a situation in which we have this problem when for 3 or 4 hours we have a downpour. And this really, normally it shouldn't be. I've never lived in a place that, where you have a heavy rain 3 or 4 hours, it would clear out. You might get a little water in the yard. But this, what you see in those pictures will take place in about that period of time with a
Right.
real heavy rain.
And
So
we're-
it's not like Floyd. Of course, Floyd was a mess. It got under the house and everything else.
Sure, but the
That's
amount of
understandable.
the amount of rain we're getting in that time period is more than we've seen in a very long time.
We've been getting this summer were probably 100-year storms or better. And
Yeah.
it doesn't sound right to say this, but we probably got 3 or 4 of them in 1 year.
Right.
And the pipe systems are only designed to handle a 10-year storm.
Well, you too, when you got a ditch like that and that much water, it slowly but surely eats that ditch away, and it slowly but surely comes up toward your house. In 15 years, that will probably be running through my kitchen. And that's, it keeps.
I understand, and I don't want you to think we're not concerned, because we are. There's just no unfortunate quick fix to trying to handle that right away. But we are aware of the neighborhood's concerns, and we are trying to address those.
Okay.
Winterville's been here since 1897, and Main Street is no better now than it was in 1897 flooding. But in 1948, we paved all the roads that were in town at that time. I don't think we can do anything, and I'm not saying that yours any less, but I'm just saying if you ride around Winterville, when it rains hard, you notice the whole town floods. Entire town floods. Front of my house, side of my house, my yard. Good thing in my house is not that high off the ground either.
Well, I know some folks got some foundations cracking, so if you repair the foundations, for a little while you got the same situation. So there you got you're repeating the problem. So when you have that foundation cracking, you know, it costs quite a bit just to repair the foundation, and you will have that same problem over and over again. I understand what you're saying, but
It came close to coming in my business in downtown Winterville. Each rain within a few inches.
really,
I just want to ask one question. You know, a study already have been made on our flood situation that we have in our town. Basically, have we?
Not a detailed, comprehensive study, no, sir.
It's an older study. I think I know the one you're referring to. I've really been working hard on the stormwater issues we have. We do, as Councilman Moore said, we have a lot of them, so it's kind of hard to concentrate on one area. I did find a couple of reports that I believe Linwood Stroud had done, but that was many years ago, 10, 15 years ago.
So let me rephrase that. None since I've been here.
Okay.
A lot of things have changed in 15 years, and actually a lot of the things that were recommended in some of those older studies have already been implemented. There was a I guess, a town-wide stormwater study done. A lot of its focus was what we call the middle block, Raglan Acres, between Cooper and Maine. And a lot of those improvements have been done. In fact, we just did one of them last year, replacing the pipes between Lynn Loop and Gale Boulevard and Cooper Street. That study was done 10 or 15 years ago and said that pipe was failing and needed to be replaced, and we just got it replaced this year. There's another one up there at the church that's failing in that same subdivision that needs to be replaced. Some of the stuff here by the water tower upstream of Noble Canal, all that work has been done. That was recommended. I went through those old studies and tried to pick the projects that had not been done and see if we can get those completed or see if they're even on our radar. And it looked like the majority of them, other than Railroad Street, had been completed. And Terry and I have talked about implementing another, either town-wide, depending on the cost, or breaking the town into drainage basins, maybe 1 or 2 drainage basins per fiscal year to try to keep the costs down and trying to pick areas, the basins where we have the most issues first. I know Noble Canal, we've got some problems. I know we've got some problems in the drainage area that drains Craftlands, Cooper's Point, Winterville Crossing. That all goes to Fort Swamp. We've got some problems on the south side of town by the shop, Church Street, all that water that goes by the well. We've got major problems in Laurie Meadows, Mountain Downs, Carroll Crossing, at our shop even. So it's hard to pick one area and say, well, this is where the problems are the worst, because they're all bad.
They're all bad.
So we'll have to pick an approach and stick with it and pick at it for a few years and see if we can't get it knocked out and fix some of these problems. And some of the problems may not be able to be fixed.
That's the problem.
Yeah, but believe it or not, Winterville is one of the highest points in Pitt County.
I'd hate to live in a low point.
Well,
I tell you that. You're in the Tar River.
Elevation-wise, Pitt County is one of the highest
Yeah.
points in the county.
And I've got a meeting set up with the city of Greenville and the town of Aden and also Pitt County and the drainage district early November. And we're going to discuss, Greenville just did a very similar, they actually went ahead and transferred the money and did the entire city. They're doing a stormwater infrastructure plan and study. And we're going to discuss the results of that and see if there's any teaming opportunities to try to improve common drainage areas. And all 3 municipalities, including, and also Pitt County, share, Swift Creek and Fort Swamp. That's where all of our water goes. And I think, that could be one of the biggest problems. But if we send all that water downstream so quick, it floods out Vanceburg and everybody downstream of us. So, we've got that to think about as well. Same thing with Greenville. If they turn all their water loose as fast as they can, it floods us out. So try to team up with those guys and come up with a county-wide solution as best as we can. Everybody work together.
One thing about Greenville, they have a stormwater fee that brings them in around $300,000 a month.
It brings in a lot.
And citizens have to pay that.
It brings in several $1 million a year.
That's right. Just for stormwater drainage. That's all.
They've got a lot more. They've got a lot more storm drainage to maintain, but they can do a lot more with that amount of money than what we can do with our fee.
But along with the help that you're speaking of, I can see some things that we can do as citizens also that I have found out that I can do even at my residence, is making sure that my drainage is clean. Because I found out a lot of times leaves or debris gets in it and kind of plug it up. If you keep it, it helps out some. It don't solve the problem, but it does help.
And all that gets on top of the grade eventually ends up in the pipe.
Yes.
And it ends up in the ditch, and we have to clean it out. And we do clean catch basins on a regular basis, but that's not something that we're able to do every day. We're lucky if we get to it once a week, but we try to clean as much as we can, and we keep the street sweeper out as much as we can to try to clean that stuff up. But inevitably, it gets in there, and any time the community can help by just keeping the curb and gutter clean in front of their house, it helps us out.
I'm not saying it's going to solve the problem, but it does help. With me, I still have a flood problem myself, around where I live.
We will continue to work on it and try to keep you folks informed as if we make any progress or as things happen around you.
Just one more thing. I know there's nothing you can do about it, but I'm afraid that subdivision behind us is, even though they got a holding pond and they're going to let so much water come in at a time, I'm afraid that's going to really add to the problem. But there's nothing to be done about that.
Well, I know that our staff's been working to make sure that calculations and all.
Right.
They have a pond designed to attenuate a 10-year, 24-hour storm for our regulations. And their pond's right out front. You can see it. You can see the little PVC pipe they got in there. That's what controls that release rate on that pond.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And I just wanted to add one more thing. In those pictures, that's our property. And we have a little wooden shed in the back and a bunch of woodwork along the side of the driveway. That gets flooded several times a year, every year.
Didn't we receive a letter from you?
Excuse me?
Didn't we receive a letter from you with pictures of your property when it really
Yes,
flooded? I do
yes,
have
yes,
that,
okay,
and we keep that to make sure that we're reminded what you've been through.
And, I mean, we've taken, even though we're not like in a listed flood, we do have flood insurance, but still, that it's depreciating the property, the wood. It's just, you see, and every time we get a strong downpour, I have to clean up all the debris from the neighborhood out of our carport there. So.
Well, I know it must be frustrating, so we will, again, continue to work on it, and if you have any additional information as time goes by, please feel free to share it with us so that we can take that into consideration as well.
We thank you, and it's a fantastic job on Bayberry Lane. It got paved, and we really appreciate that, and kudos.
Good, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here are your pictures up here, sir. What's his name?
You pictures,
Here's your pictures up here, sir.
if you want,
Furman.
Excuse me.
thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to item number 11 is the consent agenda. I think we had a couple items removed.
So we just have one, the budget amendment.
So do I hear a motion we approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now which one was removed? Or have we already done that?
You've already addressed
I
that.
thought we did. Okay, item 13 is old business.
I don't think we have any.
Okay. Item 14 is new business, and the first item is proposed sanitary sewer ordinance revision.
Good evening, council. I'm proposing a revision to the sanitary sewer, the water and sanitary sewers ordinance for the town. We've been experiencing some grease problems in the sewers, and I wasn't able to find that we really had anything in our ordinance requiring that all food service establishments have a grease trap. I think that's something that most all municipalities have implemented now. One of the biggest problems in the sewers, most of the clogs we get are from grease. We have a couple restaurants who do not have a properly functioning grease trap, and we're over there almost once a week unclogging the manhole, and that takes a lot of staff time and equipment, costs us a lot of money, not to mention coming in here in the middle of the night and unclogging the sewer mains when those grease balls go downstream. Because even though we might clean it out of that manhole, it's going to stop up somewhere else in our system.
I noticed my neighbor next door had a problem with water running his house. I could not believe it's on Church Street. The guy who did the plumbing hooked it up to our sewer in front of his house.
The roof drains?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Our sewer. How can they legally do that?
Well, that's something, we don't have ordinance against it, and that's something that's in here.
But how would they be told, if plumbers be told that
Well, we're always on the lookout for that. We had to make a sewer repair behind the flower shop over here, and we saw a gutter tied into the sewer system, and I contacted, I believe his name was Mr. Dale, and he had his plumber come out and change the gutters. We found another one behind Food Line the other day. Anytime we see that, we ask them to remove that, and technically, I guess we may not have had an ordinance before, but now we will have an ordinance that I can enforce. I haven't had anybody that wouldn't remove that, but that's a major cost to us, especially since we're going to a flow-based payment system at CMSD, because 100% of the water that lands on that roof is going to go into that gutter. There's no infiltration on a roof. Every time we get one of these heavy rains that these gentlemen were speaking about, we have high water at the lift stations.
If we can have photographs of all the wet areas that we can put up and show people when they come to a meeting and say, all of Winterville has the same problem.
Yes, sir.
It's just not your neighborhood, but all of Winterville has the same problem. Raleigh has the problem. Every city that I know of has the same problem. It's not,
It's not just Winterville.
That's right.
And it's not just one part of Winterville.
You
I
can't
can't
fix
think
it.
of one neighborhood where I have not had a drainage complaint since I've been here. And I've been here less than 2 years, so it's everywhere. But, and another thing is, we just kind of want to give the ordinance some teeth. We have in there that we can fine people. A lot of people, I guess, aren't really too concerned about that, so I did add a section in there, another penalty section, that we could sever water service, especially a restaurant. If you cut the water off, they're going to be shut down and they can't make any money, and that usually will get the problem resolved.
What you have in your packet was Travis's wording highlighted in yellow. That was as it would appear in the code of ordinances. What I just handed you was the actual ordinance amendment, same verbiage, but just in the ordinance amendment format for legal and process purposes. So nothing different other than making it in the ordinance amendment format we normally use.
Anything for this?
I'm sorry.
No? Do we have to have a public hearing on this before we adopt? I move we adopt this ordinance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. I think it's really good. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Oh, you got a question?
Oh.
Question. The businesses that has been in operation for many years, what's the cost for them to have a grease interceptor placed in, and the ones that do not?
An underground model and actually, I should have phrased that better. Our design manual does have the requirement that they have a grease interceptor, but it was not, I could not find it in the actual ordinance. The ordinance does say that things have to meet our design standards, but I want it to be directly in there where I can show it to them and say, here it is right here. Our design manual does have a requirement that they have a grease interceptor. I have no doubt there's going to be some that have been constructed and do not have a grease interceptor, and we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But if they were to put an underground grease interceptor as required by our design manual, it will probably cost approximately $10,000. But that is, the town has liability. If we have a sanitary sewer overflow due to a grease problem, we could be fined that easily.
And some of these folks should have had something, and I can't tell you how they ended up with none, but.
I found documentation. I've got one restaurant that I'm dealing with in particular that we have most of the issues with. I found documentation that Mr. Harwell had been trying to get them to put a grease trap in for probably close to 10 years. And I'm hoping this ordinance, like I said, will give us some bite behind the bark and give it some teeth where we can actually enforce something and get something done. We spend a lot of time over there, and I've documented the time that we spent over there. We have what we call high priority manhole checklist. Once a week we go check them, and most of the ones we check are because we know that there's a restaurant upstream and grease gets in there and that it needs cleaning out.
How much would you say staff every time they have to clean that particular place out? What does it take?
It probably takes, it depends. If we go to it every week, it might take 2 guys an hour to drive the truck over there, set it up, clean it out. But, sometimes you go over there and it's so bad that it's gotten into Raglan Acres or subdivision downstream, and you've got to clean out all the sewer mains downstream of there. Sometimes it doesn't collect all in the manhole, and the sewer mains are dirty. We are trying to work with people who have existing buildings, and I've created a variance request. Our design manual requires a 1,200-gallon underground grease interceptor. I've come up with a document very similar to what GUC uses in the city of Greenville that allows existing restaurants or buildings, food service establishments, that it would be cost prohibitive to install that, such as a restaurant that their domestic and kitchen waste all exits the building in one drain, where you'd have to actually replumb the building and cut the slab up. Obviously, we would try to work around that. They do make under-the-counter units that are called automatic grease traps, or there's a specific name. They're approved by the Plumbing Institute. I'm trying to allow we will allow those in certain circumstances if the customer fills out a variance request and shows us that, hey, there's really no other way other than shutting our business down and cutting up the floor. This is the only option. Those can be installed fairly quickly. I don't think there's going to be a lot of downtime, and they still are effective. They may not be as effective, but they're better than nothing.
Okay.
So we are trying to work with existing businesses, but we're also, on the other hand, trying to clamp down in all the new food service establishments, make sure they have it on the plans and they install it.
Yes, sir. Good. Good. I'm glad that we're going to, I know it's going to work both ways, to help us out and plus help the businesses out that have been established for a long period of time also,
And we've, we don't even really have a list. I guess our grease control program is kind of a new thing the past couple of years. We're trying to compile a list. The guys have been riding around to all the restaurants and just talking with the folks there, taking them. We have a maintenance agreement we're taking to them, saying, hey, do you have a grease trap? Are you maintaining it? We're having problems. We need you to maintain it. Seafood, Mexican, Chinese restaurants are usually probably the worst.
Right. Okay.
So,
A Subway or a little sub shop, you're probably not going to get a lot of grease from.
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you for working with them and doing a good job on that.
Yes, sir.
Really, truly. Yes,
so
sir.
all the businesses will be notified of this, that this applies to, or
Yes, ma'am.
new businesses will be,
New businesses
Will be
will
notified.
definitely be required to install an outside unit per the design manual. And existing businesses, like I said, when time allows, we're trying to go talk to those people. We've been to Pitt Community College, Sam's Club, Mayflower, Wimpy's, Cubby's, Papa John's. We're just going and knocking on the door and talking to the people and saying, hey, do you have a grease trap? Are you maintaining it?
Do all the schools have one?
W.H. Robinson, A.G. Cox, we've been there. I can't remember right off the top of my head if we've got their maintenance agreement back.
Creekside on our sewer system? Creekside,
Creekside is not there on Greenville.
they're on Green?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But we have been to the schools. We're trying to go everywhere. Not saying we're not going to miss somebody, but we're trying to get everybody.
Pitt Community College?
We've been there, and I know we've gotten their form back because they faxed it to me directly. At Food Line, we actually checked theirs one day, and they immediately faxed their form back. They had just cleaned theirs, actually. Sarah Law, they have a grease trap.
Okay.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I will add just one thing, has nothing to do with grease traps. You mentioned a while ago about clippings in storm drains.
Yes.
I went right behind town hall about 2 weeks ago, and there was a gentleman back there cutting grass, and he was cleaning it up, and you know where he put it?
In the curb and gutter.
In the curb, and he said, I thought that's where you supposed to put it. I said, no, I said,
We usually stop and tell people not to do that, and if we see it there, if it's not going to rain for a couple of days, a lot of times if they're not home, we'll put a little door hanger on their door, and we won't pick it up, and we'll say, call us when you get it behind the curb, and we'll come back and pick it up. And that way they learn. I mean, if you pick it up every time they set it out there, they think they're doing the right thing.
well, he had him a blower blowing the street and everything,
A
and
lot of
putting
people
every
do
bit
that.
of it right in the storm drain. Okay, thank you, Travis.
Thanks, Travis. Travis has the next issue, item, I should say.
Okay. What is the next item I have is,
Brian Fagundes.
The appointment of Brian Fagundes to the Stormwater Advisory Committee.
Brian Fagundes?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. Does he live where I think he lives, or does he live in town?
Where do you think he lives?
I think he lives out behind the Shrine Club.
That's where his parents lived
That's
at.
Oh,
where
his parents live out
His
there.
mom lives there. He lives in Cedar Ridge.
Oh, okay, Cedar Ridge. I
Motion to-
remember when they lived in Red Oak.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Mr. Fagundes, any discussion?
Good man.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3, the final plat of the Brookfield Section 1.
Should be copies in front of your places of this plat, as well as some other documents associated with this item. Brookfield is a single-family residential subdivision that's located on the west side of Old Tar Road, south of Cooper Street. Actually adjoins the south side of Cooper's Point. This subdivision was actually preliminary platted in 2008 with a total of 76 lots proposed. And work was begun on installation of the required improvements for the first section. But when the downturn in the economy, especially in the housing market, occurred, the project, progress on the project stopped, and it sat dormant until very recently. Some of the improvements were installed, but they were not completed. They were just begun. The plat we have before us is the first section, will contain 25 lots. The vast majority of the improvements required have now actually been completed. There are a few minor items still remaining to be installed. This is a cost estimate for the remaining items that was provided to us by the engineering firm for the developer. And so the items remaining to be completed are installation of 120 feet of sidewalk. This is on a short cul-de-sac street. Also a handicap ramp, a curb cut ramp that would be a part of that sidewalk, and then 3 street name signs. Article 5 of our subdivision ordinance does provide that in lieu of completing the required improvements or any part of them, the applicant can provide a financial guarantee and receive final plat approval based on that financial guarantee. And that, excuse me, is what the applicant proposes for these few remaining improvements. And what that would do would allow the plat to be recorded and building permits issued to start some homes there. But the town would have financial assurance of the completion of these remaining improvements, and if the developer should default, we would call the letter of credit, collect the funds, and we'd be able to complete the improvements. Excuse me. And so this applicant proposes to provide an irrevocable letter of credit in the amount of $3,900 to guarantee the installation of the remaining improvements. The Planning and Zoning Board did vote to recommend conditional approval of the final plat at their August 14th meeting. The recommended conditions for approval are payment of fees that are required, and those fees are $12,000 recreational fee in lieu of land dedication, an electric facilities fee in the amount of $8,125. And then, of course, this second condition is that this guarantee of installation of improvements be installed. We do have Mr. Will Kuhn with us tonight, representing Cooper Island Development, the developer of the property and current owner. If you have anything to add, or if you have questions for him or for staff.
I just hope that over in Cooper's Point behind where I live, evidently, I don't know whether you didn't build all the new homes back there, but somebody must have bought a shipload of garage doors. Because every one of them are exactly alike. It gives you the impression almost of what we refer to as a project over there. It looks like they could change the doors a little bit, and that really has nothing to do with approving this, but
Well, on our schedule of blueprints, we have 8 different garage doors picked from, and the committee that is helping me put each individual house together goes through and picks different types of windows, styles of windows, different types of front doors, different types of garage doors, different types, so that there's a variety of consistency in the construction look of the house, but a variety in the garage doors, if you will, for the example.
any garages that will be not at the front entrance or on the
The
side?
only ones we will be able to do that on are the corner lots. If you put blocks, we don't have the house, we can't put the side entry, I wish we could. That's kind of what we had in mind when we started Cooper's Point, it just didn't end up that way. But if you look at the first phase, the first part of Cooper's Point, the third phase, the first part, the third phase, you'll see when I built those are all that side entry garages, but those are all 100-foot blocks.
I realized I did fail to mention one fee. I included it in the calculations that are in our records and provided to the developer, but I failed to mention it now, and that is the sewer acreage fee. And that's a fee of $900 per acre. So for this first section, which is 10.66 acres, the sewer's acreage fee would be $9,594. So the total fees due for this first section are $29,719.
Yes, and support documentation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion for approval. Any discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I got a little typographical thing. At the bottom of this, the certificate of final approval, it refers to us as the Board of Aldermen.
Thank you.
Just a semantics thing.
Thank you.
We'll ask them to change the Mylar, which are the portable versions of the map, to say council, town council. Thank you.
Okay, item number 15 is other agenda items.
I don't think we have any.
Do we have a timeline, the signs around Tamalpay?
Yes, and I plan to give that update in my update.
What about Boyd Street and Nobel Canal? Those two things. We were supposed to have a workshop on
Right, and I've got an
Nobel
update on
Canal.
that too.
Okay. And Boyd Street, we haven't heard it. Have we heard anything from it?
No, they've been
DOT?
on Boyd Street cleaning out ditches. I guess you saw them doing that, but I'll talk about that too.
And the railroad crossing, I noticed all the rest of them are in place except that one. It kind of scares me that they may
Oh, I
decide to
think-
close it and
No,
not
I-
notify us.
I think that that's just going to be a more massive project, so they're just trying to find the right time. Okay.
Okay. How about any work sessions that we need to schedule?
I have an update on the two that I was instructed to put together, and during my report, I'll give that update.
Okay.
Could we recognize the youth council president that's here tonight?
Of course. Mr. Walton is here with us, youth council president, keeping us straight and on the right track.
Yep. Okay. Any of the staff members wish to make any comments? If so, step forward.
Travis has been complaining that he hasn't made many reports to you recently, so he was really excited about the one he's going to make tonight.
I had to jump up to beat Evan up here. Just want to give you guys an update. Try to pull it up on my phone here. I made some slight changes to the water and sewer design manual to try to bring it up to date. I think it's been a while since it had been revised. These are just some quick changes I wanted to make to try to get ahead of any potential developments going on, make sure we get the materials specified that we use and that we want contractors to use, so we get the same high-quality materials. Basically just change the water and sewer plastic pipe. I'll spare you the details, but I expect a better pipe that most municipalities are going with now. Also, we've gone to a new meter setter that's got a dual check valve. It's safer, and we're not going to change all the ones that are in town, but any new ones will be this new model, and it keeps people from being able to pump stuff back into the water system, or if they have a problem in their house, it won't go back into the water system and harm other people, and they can't deliberately do that either. So that's just kind of updating that. I just want to let you guys know. The other thing is Franklin and Winston Drive. Staff has gone over there, and we've started installing the 6-inch water line on Franklin Drive. We started on Chaucer, and we're heading towards Corbett. We hope to get that done this week and next. And then if everything goes well, we'll hop right across in Clevewood over Corbett and hop on Winston and try to get that done, try to get those water lines in. And then the next step would be finishing those roads there in anticipation of the Old Tar widening project.
I know that's something that's been on our list for some time, so we're finally getting to it, thanks to staff. Thanks, Travis. Evan, Stephen, Evan. Anybody? Don't all rush.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody, I know I mentioned it last month, but we do have the Trail of Terror coming up this Friday night. This is the third or fourth year now that we've done this with the ECU RCLS Programming Lab. Looking forward to a great event. It does start at 6 p.m. It's at the Winterville Rec Park. Thank you.
What's the date?
This Friday, whatever, the 24th. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. The Department of Commerce's Tourism and Marketing Office, along with the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, unanimously selected Winterville as a certified retirement community. We just found out this Friday. There are only 8 communities that have been selected so far, so this is a pretty great thing for Winterville. Edenton and Winterville are the only communities that are east of Raleigh that have been selected so far as well. And their purpose is to help market and promote Winterville. They will represent and assist us at expos, and they will be contacting us soon to arrange a date to come and visit with Winterville to hold the official ceremony. Thank you.
Good job.
No.
It's called the North Carolina Certified Retirement Community Program.
You all approved us applying for that designation. Remember, that had a $10,000 application fee that we would get back if we did not receive the designation. But because we did, they will utilize those funds to help us with our marketing information, et cetera. And I have to give Stephen credit. Before he came on board with us full-time, he actually wrote that application for us. So he obviously did a great job, and I know he's looking forward now to working on that with the department. And you may have remembered Andre Neighbors with the Tourism and Film group come and give us a presentation about what the Certified Retirement Community designation entailed. So,
Stephen, I have another question about a conversation we had earlier about Roberts Welding, that there might be some sort of an expansion there. Could you enlighten the town council on that?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
An expansion for Roberts Welding?
I'm not sure. Matt can give you some information on that, but I'm not sure we're ready to do that this evening.
Whatever you think is best.
I'll get Stephen to forward some information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? If not, we'll move down to the counselor.
Mayor, I have no report, but glad to answer any questions that you have of me. Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Thanks to the town board for allowing me to go to the League of Municipalities. It was a very informative 3 days. I went on Saturday, really 4 days. A lot of things going around the state of North Carolina, realizing that North Carolina is becoming more, how do I say it, cities are senior Latin. Senior citizens are in the cities. The younger people are outside the cities. Talked a lot about legislature and its anti-cities stance, and I can understand because of annexation. As far as I know, we've never had a annexation that was non-friendly. That was not the community's choice. I remember the Pines at one time. It took 20 years for them to be annexed in the town. 20 years we talked about annexation.
It took about that long to get the street paved.
Right. The new president of the league is going to be from Burlington, the mayor of Burlington. Outgoing mayor was in Goldsboro. Again, the General Assembly is unfriendly and doesn't look like they're going to change any of the leadership in the General Assembly, the way the lines are drawn. I was concerned about their election of people on their board. I went to the meeting about new board members and rubber stamp, the Lord. One person went up against the incumbent or any incumbent, so all decisions were already made. I thought I've been there before, it was sort of like a waste. They handpick who they want to move in. And if you're not handpicked by their board, you wonder why the General Assembly is anti. I can see that was not very good, very democratic. Number two, I've got a lot of nice emails about the paving, these streets. How many streets are paved, Travis?
We paved 3 this year.
3 this year. One particular off Old Tar Road neighborhood. Channel Drive, that's what I've been. Yes. I have had some comments from since the last board meeting about how our downtown looks. So we were looking at that, improving our downtown, spread other municipalities outside. Also had brought to my attention, we did not have a handicap ramp for the entrance to A.G. Cox athletic facilities. If you were handicapped in a wheelchair, you have a difficult time getting to that.
Principal A.G. Cox email about that. I forgot your email. I have not heard back from her, so I'll follow up on that.
The sidewalk would be ours, wouldn't it? The city's curb and gutter.
It could go either way.
Okay. But that's all I had. That was a question brought to my attention last ball game. They have great crowds at those games. We're very fortunate to have 3 schools in our town. Very proud of those schools. I understand that Robinson, the other side of Old Tar is Wintergreen. Robinson's test score wise did better than Wintergreen. So, very proud of the principal there at Robinson.
I got 2 questions. For the police chief, how many vacancies are within our forces? Or do we have any?
Currently don't have any right now.
Okay. And building inspector, I guess this would be Alan too. I noticed that they were talking about, one man said his house was elevated with a crawl space, the other man's house is on a slab. Do we have any building codes that address houses being built in areas that are prone to flooding, that keep the developers from putting houses there that would not be elevated?
Well, from a building code standpoint, if you are in a flood area, you have to build 2 feet above the floodplain elevation. But we have very little area Just so happens that Craft Winds is not anything over there is below base flood elevation.
Okay. So even though that they are having flooding problems, I know, well, say, the development that being built behind them, there wouldn't be anything to keep from, okay.
Building code is just the bare minimum of what you can do. So we hope that the builders build better than what the code asks for, but that's just the minimum standard.
Okay. I like that. I also went to NCLM. I got to tour Kernersville and see what Main Street project that they did, and they actually torn up their Main Street, and it was torn up for several months. You couldn't travel through there, and we saw that. Got to go to the Botanical Gardens, and of course to a historic home there. I noticed that one thing I noticed about the things that they were talking about that they did, there was a lot of private money being invested in it, in the restoration of the home and everything. Also, we had our housing forum in September. We had over 30 people in attendance, and I've received a lot of positive comments from that, and I do appreciate the town sponsoring that. We used the community room, and it was just about full. The presenters were very good. I did get to do a follow-up letter, which the town, of course, mailed out, and of course, the town provided refreshments, and of course, we tied up Terry's Saturday afternoon
Quite
with
all
the
right.
forum. But I think it was good and informative for the citizens. I've heard some have contacted me asking for more, so the two agencies that I promised them I would give them contact information from, I did that, and I did it because all of us on the board, I know you've been bombarded with questions about monies for housing repair and replacement. So I do thank the town for those things.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
I've had lots of phone calls on the, and emails on the speed bumps that we put in place throughout Coopers Point, and I told everyone that I would pass it along to the board. They were all very complimentary except for one, and I think as we have all learned as board members, you're not going to make everybody happy. But they are very excited throughout Coopers Point, especially the residents that have smaller children, and obviously one of those speed bumps is very close to my house, and I will tell you that they work.
Great. Unless you're on a golf cart. I can go right between them.
Unless you're on a golf cart. But they work very nicely. I have not had to holler at anybody since those speed bumps were placed. Thank you.
And that golf cart won't do it 12 miles an hour, so it's pretty safe.
Well, I just want to say I'm glad to hear that report about those speed bumps, because now they're beginning to call me as a nickname, Speed Bump, because of the one that we have on Jones Street. But it's like Smith said, that it does work. On Myrtle Street, I think I talked to the chief, and Myrtle Street and Hammond Street, we still do not have the signs, no parking signs on one side of that street. We have it on Myrtle Street, but we do not have it on Hammond, the little short street coming from.
Right.
Yes, and I found out it does work also, because they had a large service at that church, at the church, the St. Rest Church, and traffic was heavy, but they only parked on one side of the street on Myrtle Street during that service. It's as much traffic they had, but the traffic was continue flowing because of parking on one side of the street. Now, if we didn't have those signs, they would have parked on both sides of that street. There would be no way that they can be able to let the traffic flow like it did. So, job well done, Chief, again, on those signs. I did hear that we did have some problems, but we got it fixed. And I think that we're going to keep an eye on that situation that we had.
Are those Hammond Street signs on order?
No, but I will order those.
Okay, thank you.
I misunderstood. I thought it was just Myrtle Street.
It's Myrtle, and just from,
Between Myrtle and
yes, just that little strip, down to the dead end. Also, let me see, the minor repair work on homes. I still haven't received a report on that.
Well, I have an update for you in
You
my
do?
report. Mm-hmm.
Good, all right. And the housing forum, like Ms. Robinson stated, I'm still getting some information, getting some feedback on that. Matter of fact, I got another call this week, and I referred the person to your office.
Well, we've had several come in, so maybe y'all's referrals are making their way to our office.
Okay, and then the very last thing I have to say is I want to thank, well, two things. I want to thank the board allowing me to go to the NCLM, and I did take the trip also with Ms. Robinson. And also, I just want to say thank you on that. And the last thing I want to say is please, please, everybody, go out and vote. I think we have early voting start the 23rd.
That's correct.
So it starts on the 23rd, so you can go ahead on and beat the crowd.
And that's at the community room only. And then Election Day will be, obviously, both the community room and the Operations Center.
That is correct.
Could we in a news, well, it's too late now, newsletter about where people vote at, you know? So people can get between, so few people vote in municipal election move here.
Right.
Where they vote.
We can probably try to get something on the website. It might not reach everybody, but
That'd be
certainly
good.
can try to be specific as we can
Somebody asked me
be.
tonight about where people voted at. Jennifer Austin, he was here earlier.
Yes, we can
That's
get
all
that
I have.
done.
Yes, I have just one thing. We've had several conversations about it, but when you come off Highway 11 up here, that set of apartments that's been abandoned, what, if ever, is anything at all going to be done about that eyesore in this town?
Which, I'm trying to place where you're talking
It's
about.
Harris's property.
I think I brought that up the last time.
Well,
Oh, you're talking about on Mill Street?
Yes, on Mill Street.
if I may respectfully remind folks, ugly doesn't mean that it's out of compliance. I know that Mike's been working on that project with Ms. Harris. She, I think, has taken care of her situation to date. Maybe still has some things in the works, I'm not sure, in the, with the county, but nonetheless, she's boarded up the doorways and the windows as Mike required her to. She has kept the grounds cut occasionally, but she is keeping that done. And if I'm not mistaken, they're not structurally unsafe at this point. So
They're not what?
they're not structurally unsafe per the law at this point. So other than making sure that she stays in compliance with the things that Mike's requiring her to do, we're sort of in a holding pattern.
How long are we required to be in a holding pattern?
Well, until it becomes of a state that we can do something.
Can we change our ordinances?
Yes.
You can.
I mean, let's face it, it's a horrible looking place.
It
Something's
is.
got to be done.
But if you change the ordinance, remember, you're affecting,
I mean, we can't allow something like that to be in town. We just can't.
And I look at it, we've been to communities that buildings and living spaces like that have been renovated. And I know it would take a lot of money, but some towns and cities have been able to renovate housing like that. And I'm not talking about the town's investment. This would have to be something like a federal grant or something to come in and renovate it. I know at one point she was renovating it and turning them into larger apartments. And if nothing else, could we kind of talk to her to see if she would want to explore the possibility of actually renovating the area and turning it into, nicer apartments or something?
we can certainly talk to her.
Because it's been just sitting there, and if not, it's going to sit there and go down.
If anybody moves there, we need to do something about sidewalks in that area? Because those people, both of the apartments are walking back and forth to Handy Mark. That is
Yes.
so unsafe.
Yeah.
And we have no walking.
I'd like to just charge staff with maybe bringing us some options, even if it has to do with changing some ordinances. Something that can be brought to us to better address that. We simply cannot allow something to look like that in town.
Can Councilman Smith's request be answered at the next month's meeting?
We'll have something for you.
Is there any way that a solid privacy fence, if nothing else, if we can't do anything else, that we can just cover it up, that where it can't be seen from our roadway when you come into our town?
We will pursue the possibilities of all of those options and bring them back to you at the next meeting.
And could we talk to her about maybe getting it to the point that we could get it looking decent around? You know, I mean, when I say decent, I'm talking about getting it back to the point of occupancy. If we just let it sit, no matter how many walls you put or whatever you do, it's still going to sit there and just go down. But if we can get something done to bring it up, you know, maybe, I know she, you know, but I know she wants to sell it, but at this point, it's been sitting there for years, not sold, and it's becoming a problem. It does not look good as an entrance to our town. Most definitely. I agree with you, Mr. Cooper. It doesn't look good. I like to see it either renovated or, you know, I mean, one or the other. And we've seen communities where they've taken hotels and fixed them up for occupancy, you know, so I know that it would be difficult, be very expensive, but to me, it would be the lesser of two evils than let it sit and get uglier.
We will bring you some options.
Thank you.
Since you're on the subject of houses, I've had neighbors complain to me about an abandoned house right down the street where I live, on Cooper Street. Nobody has lived in that house for, I don't know how many years. And,
Two-story house?
what?
Yeah, we talked about it last month, briefly.
The neighbors now are beginning to complain about it, that, I had one said, when are you going to do something about that house that's on Cooper Street? I said, which house you talking about? Then they told me, so, that may be something that the board needs to check on, or our staff member.
It's down, the Worthington house is grown all up. Beside it, Don Boyce lived, Trish Worthington's house. It's been vacant for 2 years at least.
Which one now?
Trish Worthington's house.
That's the one I'm talking about.
That's the house. Okay, I was talking about one down the other end.
I'm talking about Trish Worthington's house.
Had the lights been turned off a couple of years ago? They're still on? It's really grown up. You're right.
I'm not sure. We can check.
Right beside Mr. Robinson.
And since everybody's finished except our manager and me, I got one item that I was, last meeting, Mr. Seth Caton brought up a very interesting subject, I think. You know, he came before the board several months ago. He maintains his mother's residence, and he has nothing, if I remember right, running in that house on electricity except a deep freeze or a refrigerator or
Did
something.
he sold the house then? Is he still on it?
As far as I know, he still does. But anyhow, his question was, why did he have to pay a sewer fee when there was nobody living there? And the board decided that, along with, I think, the staff over there, that we shouldn't change our procedures or our rules for that. So he has to continue, according to him, continue to pay that fee. Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is on Ain Street, the lady came and had, her problem was that she filled up her pool, she said, with salt water, which was good for X number of years, which it may very well be. My point is that one day, sometime in the future, that pool will be drained, and where is it going to go? In our sewer system. And we waived the fee for her for if I remember right, Anthony, until we could do a study or find out something on that.
I was just thinking, I knew something was plaguing my mind that I had forgotten to put on the agenda, and that was the item,
It's
so.
still her bill.
Yes, but she's not being charged any late fees or any.
Yeah. I just feel like, as I say, suppose 5 years from now she sells the house and the person living there dumps the water some way, so someday that water's going to go in the sewer. So if we require everybody else to pay the fee, I feel like she should have to pay it too.
But hopefully in 2 more years, our sewer rates will go down tremendously.
Well, maybe they will, but until then, even if they do go down, it's our rule that you have to pay. So I guess at this point, I would like to hear a motion that we require her to go ahead and pay her sewer fee.
I'll make that motion. I talked to someone in another town, and they told me that they paid it when they filled their pool. So that was what I was told. So I will make a motion that she be required to pay that fee.
Is there a second? So we're going to let her get by with not paying the fee.
Well, I look at it that we said that we had asked the staff to follow up on this and give us a report back, and that's what I'm waiting on.
Yes, me too. When I hear,
when
I
I
hear the
hear
staff
that,
report, I'll decide.
I'm talking for me. I can.
What kind of report would they report back?
We're supposed to bring you back information about saltwater pools, and
Yes.
if in fact they're more environmentally, what's the word I'm looking for? Safer for the system, all of that.
I remember that.
And actually,
part
I
was
should have
true.
added that, and
I think we can address that next month if it's going to be on next month's agenda.
Okay, all right.
And also, check with our neighboring municipalities. Make sure you see that we're in compliance with them, or that we're doing the same things that they're doing.
about saltwater
Because I was
pools.
told that was what was done in Aden, that you paid up front.
Well, you pay, we require payment up to date, so we haven't exempted any type
Right.
currently. But yes, I will make sure that that's added. I'm going to go back after the meeting and make sure I put it on my calendar.
I thought, well, that's the reason why I said what I did.
Thank you, I'm glad
Yes.
that I was reminded.
All righty, Miss Manager.
All right, I have several things. The workshops that you all directed me to schedule for Noble Canal and funding for town streets, I sent out several dates to the council, and I know everybody's busy, but I did not receive a response but from a couple of folks. I had given some dates in October, November, and December, realizing that everybody's schedule's busy. So I guess I'm asking for further direction. Do you want to wait till after the first of the year? Do you want to try to set something tonight? What's the pleasure of the council?
How about November 3rd, Monday night? 6
Now,
o'clock.
are you doing it one workshop, both things in one workshop?
Let's just set up one date for November 3rd, Monday night, 6 o'clock.
At 6,
Anybody?
I will be. I'm already busy that night.
How about,
Would the next day be an election day interfere with any way with that?
Yeah. And then, on the 6th, we have a meeting with,
Middies.
Middies
is meeting.
naming the,
right.
Oh,
How about
naming
how
the,
about Monday the 17th, November.
okay, that sounds,
What, November what?
17th,
okay.
third Monday night, 6 o'clock.
Planning and zoning board meeting night, if you do it, we can arrange to have the meetings in two different places.
We can meet right in there, can't we?
Planning and zoning night.
6 o'clock on
The naming committee for the athletic facility.
athletics.
Okay. That's the night that Middies is having their regional meeting.
So 6 o'clock on November 17th, okay?
17th, good for everybody? Okay.
Could we do it at 6:30?
Sure.
November 17th?
6:30.
Yeah.
Is that good for
Where are
everybody?
we going to meet at?
We will try to start in the executive conference room, and depending upon, how many folks show up, we can move out here.
No, I think they said that someone have a meeting in here? on that
It's
night?
normally planning and zoning, like tonight would normally be planning and zoning, but folks have been very gracious. Planning and zoning's meeting tomorrow night. And Alan, do you think if it's far enough ahead of time?
What we could do, rather than change the nights, we could opt to have our meetings in 2 different locations.
Now, if we can fit in the executive conference room,
Yeah.
you can still meet out here.
Same time?
Well, we've already pushed those people around once.
and-
I'm not,
Is the
I'm
other
not
room
for pushing
available?
those people around.
Is the community room available?
I'm not sure, I can check on that, but certainly we can start out in the executive conference room and
There you
then
go. Okay.
relocate if need be. So
Or the Public Works Building?
I don't know if there's anything on Monday nights, Evan, in the training room.
No, rec board doesn't, and there's not anything else I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, we'll double check that. We'll start in the executive conference room. I'll check the availabilities, but then we can go down the op center so that planning and zoning can meet on the regular night. Does that sound good?
Good.
Okay. All right, thank you. Wanted to let you know, I did email everyone, but we did hold our assistant town manager's process this past week for 2 days. I thought it was a good process, and we'll hopefully be making a decision, if not this week, first of next week. We'll keep you abreast of that. Update on housing-related items. First of all, I did not know this, and so maybe you all did, that Martin County Community Action no longer has a weatherization program. So that is one group that we can't send to for that purpose any longer. So we're no longer giving that information out. I would say that we have received probably a total of 5 applications for housing. We're in the process of trying to go through. I have met with James Rhodes, the planning director for Pitt County. Most of these folks, their needs are going to exceed our cap. So we're trying to see if there are ways to potentially work through both urgent repair programs to try to expand what we can do. And then we'll be able to narrow down the kinds of things that can be done from our program. The Housing Forum brought us at least 3 folks that I know of that brought applications. I will remind the council that our program requires that you are 62 years of age or older, and you have to own your home and you have to live in your home. So some of the folks that have come to see us have been younger than 62, and we've tried to give them information to go visit the county and some other programs to try to get assistance that way. So again,
Was that established
yes, sir.
when we started this, or
It was
this
one of
right
the
here?
guidelines you all approved.
Okay.
And again, because we found that the need in that age population for Winterville is pretty great. So Mr. Rhodes and I are working closely together to try to see if we can expand the population that we help currently. Let's see, Boyd Street, DOT was cleaning ditches, and I think they were trying to improve the drainage in that area, but in terms of an overall project, we're not aware that that has moved forward. But I do know that they know that that's something we asked them to keep us abreast of.
And the county will have a meeting on transportation in January. The Chamber of Commerce, Pitt County Chamber of Commerce took that. And it's going to have a countywide meeting to the chamber. So success.
Well, good.
We're going to have our meeting maybe.
Okay, well,
Because they're going to do it and have representatives there to talk about the projects.
well, I know that staff has developed a good working relationship with DOT, so I can thank them for some of the things that DOT's come in and done recently. The railroad crossing safety arms and things that they're putting at the railroad crossing, including Boyd Street. I think they were working down from the public offices today because they had trains stopped on the tracks for a little while. But I know that Boyd Street still, they're still planning to do that, just because there's no current wiring run or anything over there. Correct me, Travis, if I'm wrong. That's going to be a little bit bigger project, like was it Liberty Street they installed?
Right.
That was pre-wired. They had done some work preliminarily, and I don't think anything's.
There was some engineering changes according to the
For Boyd Street?
I believe all three crossings, and so that's why they didn't start on Boyd Street, because they were waiting for revised plans.
But you have no information, I mean, it's still, I've been told it's still going forward and,
Yeah, I was just talking to the superintendent that was installing, and he just said, hey, there's been changes to the plans, so we'll be back when we get them.
and they were pretty upfront with us, that would probably be the last one just because of the amount of work that it would take, in the school being in the close proximity. So I think they will move forward, and as soon as we have word that they will move forward, we'll let you know. Lastly, at least I think on my list, an update on the signs and banners. We have, the signs are on order, I believe, Stephen, remind me, we ordered 12 wayfinding signs
I think that's.
to be placed throughout town. They're going to look good. We tried to encompass the post office, our historical sites, town offices, parks, etc., both parks. We also have ordered 30 banners, 15 and there'll be 2 different kinds of banners. So 15 should be here any day. We've already gotten the hardware for those 15, and the other 15 are in the process of they have designed them. We have approved the design, and now they should be in the process of making those.
Somebody out near Five Tower Road, Sam's area.
We will have plenty that we can, assuming that Mervyn can work with us to get them on the poles, we'll have enough to place throughout. So I think we can spread them around to start with, but there'll be 2 different designs, and I think they'll be very nice as well. So we are moving forward with that, excited. We were able to utilize the money that we received from the Development Commission, and we are hoping that we'll be able to apply, once that's completed, for another sum of money from the Development Commission. They've been very supportive. I think that's all I have.
I got one more other thing I want to ask you. There's if Ms. Robinson will allow me to do this and say this, it's about a home that is, I think it's on your street, Ms. Robinson. What's the name of your street?
Gardner.
Gardner Street. And has not been no one living in that, no one have been a resident in that house for how many years?
I don't know.
Been that long?
It's been a while.
If you go and buy and look at that home is almost to the ground.
I believe that is on Mike's list for minimum housing violations and dilapidation. So I know that's in the process.
Just need to be torn down. It just need to be torn
Well, you know,
down.
the house on Hammond Street, 25 years without power before we finally got rid of that house. I hope it didn't take us long.
It shouldn't take that long. I think once we get
25, I saw it later this weekend. She is across from Harvey Joyner's house, across from the old rescue building. That house sat there for 25 years, vacant. Tall grass.
No, I think Mike and I would like to move forward before that, so.
I don't mean to be.
No, we want to move forward.
But you had to pay taxes on it.
Yeah, but still, it's not fair for the residents who live right beside.
But I understand like that. I think the owner do not have finance
Right.
to have the house torn down. I think they wouldn't mind to go ahead and get it down if they could, but they just don't have the finance to do it.
We'll look into what might be available in that
Yes.
respect.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be quiet now.
You won't believe it.
I don't think we got a closed session. Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.